Oh no, really? Where are you from?
I'm a Liberty student.
Oh really? Liberty University, like Jerry Falwell Liberty?
But
Really?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that.
Okay. I need to hear your stories sometime because I love watching videos about Liberty. I'm fascinated.
Yeah.
So it's great to meet all of you. I know John doesn't want to do introductions because I will talk your ear off.
But you can do introduction.
Oh, sure. Does
I don't
anybody
know
want
everyone except for Hope, and I met her and I don't know her name because I don't remember
Okay.
names.
Well, I'll start out because I do look scary.
Yes, Sarah.
Us Satanists are terrifying people, let me tell you all that. I'm all bark, but I'm no bite, so I don't mind introducing myself a little. My name's Ash Patrick Shade. I do go by he, and I am a recent graduate of Marshall University, class of 2018, the Masters of Psychology program. I'm looking to specialize in rural gender therapy and like serving unmet populations. Basically, you go out here, kids don't have access to a psychologist because maybe their parents don't have jobs, maybe they're on drugs, the Medicaid won't cover it, and they don't have a specialist. So basically, one of the reasons I'm doing that is I'm living out my religion. I'm all about science and everything else. We won't get into all those topics tonight because I have enough material to cover a semester. There is so much to go over with Satanism, and I'm just going to give you kind of the generalities, and we can kind of go back and forth during all this. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves, and I'll get on with the disclaimers afterwards. Sound good? I'll start with you.
I'm Aaron. I'm, I guess, the vice president of this organization.
Oh, congrats. Good to meet you.
He was voted in last week by a majority vote.
Oh, congrats. That's awesome. I know this person right here, Kelby. You can introduce yourself anyways.
Sure.
I mean, I ain't stopping you.
Sure. I'm Kelby, nice to be here, and I am a Christian, and I'm just a member that likes to come here. I enjoy learning about truth, learning about different religions, learning about faith, and how to talk about my faith with other people in different religions. So glad to have anyone here that is not far from it's not Christian faith, so glad you're all here too. So I'm here.
I'm Sarah. It's my first time here, but I've heard about this organization since my freshman year.
Mhm.
I'm actually agnostic, but I like to learn about different religions.
That's awesome. That happens to be one of my special interests as well. This is what I do in my free time is apologetics, lectures, and debates. So I'm all about this kind of stuff. So that's why I'm overly excited tonight.
Hey, what's up? My name's Hope, and I'm a Christian, and I just like learning new stuff. So,
Good to meet you.
yeah, nice meeting you.
Hi, I'm Tracy. I'm a freshman.
Great to meet you.
My name is Lavaro. I heard about this. When I come here, I'm agnostic.
Mhm.
I used to be a Catholic, now I'm agnostic.
Oh, okay. I'd love to hear your story sometime. It's great to meet you.
You too.
My name's Alex. I'm a Satanist and I'm also a Marxist, and Ash invited me here to listen in.
My name is Seth. I'm a graduate from Liberty, degree in theology and apologetics. I'm currently in a master's on general religious studies. My key interest is in world religion and cults, like Satanism
Mhm.
and the like. And you were, congratulations, you get to be my first Satanist, legitimate Satanist I've ever had the privilege to listen to.
Okay. I'd love
The closest
to.
thing I've ever listened to was someone who classified themselves as a Buddhist Satanist.
I, you can talk to me about that one later. I'm curious.
But I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. I'm always open to hearing both sides.
Oh, sure.
I do not like straw men, and
Me
so
either.
I want to hear you out.
Oh, definitely. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about is kind of my own personal experience. I can't talk for anybody just yet, but we'll get to that.
That's Satanism for you.
Oh, yeah. It's like herding cats, but slightly easier than average atheists. It's the spicy atheism, guys.
My name's Chris Atkins. I've been coming to the group for about 4 or 5 years, probably 5 years by now. I'm a Christian as well, and I'm just very interested in hearing about your story. And
Oh, well, I'd love to tell it.
Satanism.
Great to meet you.
My name is Isaac McCown. I graduated from Marshall in 2013 with a molecular biology degree, and I got my master's in teaching. I was actually the first president of this group, so I just enjoy coming back and I'm in the same boat he is. I've actually never heard any kind of formal presentation on Satanism before, so
Oh,
I'm excited for tonight.
I've given a few of them before.
Yeah.
All day, every day.
Oh, I'm not. I have my Baphomet in my office, and under my corporate noose, as I call it. So at least it's not the other one I'm messing. Dark sense of humor, but yeah, I've definitely given several talks, and we're probably going to be participating in some panels in the spring semester. So we're definitely not out here to win arguments or anything. I just, like, if it helps you all strengthen your faith, then I'm glad. Because just like you, I'm all about reasons. And knowledge is ultimately power. So I'm definitely all on board with that. And I love this kind of stuff. I love this topic. So religion is my everything. I'm sorry, I'm very Aspergic about it.
I'm Mark. This is my 7th year of helping him. In my spare time, I teach apologetics and philosophy down at Tri-State Bible College.
Oh, great to meet you.
I'm still John. This is what I do for a living. We're going on 7 years at Marshall, and you can see the overwhelming interest because we go a little bit deeper than other organizations. We believe Christianity is true, and we think we can show that in a cumulative case based on circumstantial evidence. Like I said earlier, we all can't be right. We all may very well be wrong, but I've known Ash since probably the first year that I came here. We've had conversations, some deep, some not. We're friends on Facebook.
You poor man. It's a magical place.
So I don't know how we really come about to discuss this particular belief system, but I'm anxious to hear as well.
Well, I am an open book. I do go by Total Transparency on YouTube. Totally not a trans pun. I'm terrible about humor. Huh? I'm losing the trans fats, Kelby. Don't make me report you to Julie. Listen. We work together. So, like I said before, Satanism covers a lot of material. You have to go over pop culture, a little bit of American history, some medieval history, where legends come from, folk devils, music, it's art, it's books. And there are also literal codified versions of Satanism, and that's what we're going to be largely focusing on tonight is modern Satanism, starting from the Church of Satan with Anton LaVey and TST. So there are sensitive topics ahead. Like I've said, I'm not out to win an argument with you guys. You all are smart people. I'm not going to preach to you. I'm not going to talk to you. I want to talk with you. I want to meet you where you're at. I don't expect anybody to believe what I believe, and I'm okay with that because ultimately there's no real incentive to convert people. I'll get to you in a minute. It's atheism, but it's spicy atheism. Sorry, stutter. We're all adults here. I personally call it the BDSM atheism. Some people like their ice cream just vanilla. Some people like their atheism or their ice cream with a cherry on top, maybe some chocolate sprinkles. There's a lot of different things you can do as an atheist. Some classes of Buddhists fall under it. There's a lot of different atheistic religion. And I just kind of want to give you a taste of the ice cream with the cherry on top and the sprinkles. You've all heard of vanilla, but let me give you double Rocky Road tonight. So that's kind of what this is. So like I've said before, I'm not going to pretend to know everything. I'm not going to pretend to know all the answers of the universe or anything like that, and I'm okay with that. If there is a question I can't answer, I will answer it to the best of my ability, because I want you to talk with me. I know I'm the guy that people have seen in the media. It's like, that guy sacrifices animals. Oh, they're insert trans slur here, and they're out to get our kids. I am used to being that folk devil. I've lived through it. I lived through the Satanic Panic. I lived through Columbine. And as a result, I honestly started hating Christians at one point in my life. That is no longer the case with me, because I've realized I'd want somebody to talk to me. I would have wanted somebody to meet me where I am at. So I'm here today to meet you where you are at. not to see you as just Christians, which is an important part of your identity, and I will never dismiss that, but to talk to you as people and kind of share what's important to me. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So, awesome. So this is completely for your own information. I hope this helps you grow on your walk with Christ, or just helps you strengthen your faith even, because ultimately we are on the same highway of life together, and I'm not here to tear you down. So I admire anybody that wants to have valid reasons for why they believe what they believe. Hell, I was watching the it wasn't Chapel Hill, the Worldview Wednesday thing, and just nobody knows what they're talking about. We live in a society full of different vague platitudes, common just phrases people say, mantras, but nobody ever questions it. So I definitely want to add to your apologetics class, part of your perspective, give you a little taste of the opposition. Not to challenge you. You can make me your punching bag if you want. I personally don't care. I've heard it all. But I want you to use this information any way you see fit. So on that note, we don't have to think alike, but I'm not going to actively convert you. Also, I'm not speaking, I'm required to make this disclaimer. I'm not speaking on behalf of any formal organization because I have not had certain training yet. So I'm just here I'm here as an individual Satanist, so to speak, because that's kind of what I have to do at the moment. So, like I said, do what thou wilt with this information. I see you get what I'm saying. And on that note, I just want you to enjoy. So the first thing I kind of want to start out with is you and me. So I want you to tell me something. Be as offensive as you want to be. What do you think Satanism is, and what do you think I do in my free time? And first thing that comes to mind, throw it at me. I am playing hardball. I swear I don't bite. You're not going to get sacrificed, none of you.
You just took my joke.
Huh?
You just took my joke also.
I'm not going to sacrifice Marco, I promise. Insult me as much as you can. It's the only time you get to insult me.
I just got many questions.
Oh, we'll definitely get to those.
Do you want to go first?
No, I have nothing to insult. I have nothing to insult. I just got questions.
I don't have anything to insult. I just want,
yeah.
this is the question/comment.
Yep.
So, okay, I don't know much about Satanism.
Yeah.
So, like,
That's why we're here, though.
yeah. So, I was wondering, okay, do Satanists believe, like, do they worship Satan?
No. We'll actually get into that a little bit.
Okay.
So that's actually really the most common misnomer. So that's one of the big ones. If I had a whiteboard, I'd start writing them down and throwing candy at you like I have before. Had to make my students stereotype me one day, and every time they said the meanest thing to me, whoever said it got a piece of chocolate. Huh?
So I had a erasable thing in my room. I could have
You're so sweet, Kelby. Are there any movies, pieces of media, songs, anything that reminds you of Satanism specifically? I can name a few. Rosemary's Baby and Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast.
I love Behemoth.
Behemoth, they have an entire song called The Satanist. I do like Nurgle a lot. I'm not a huge fan of like that genre of metal, but I think it's cool. I like what they did with it. Yeah.
All right, here's a thought. When it comes to Halloween, why do people assume much? I know what the holiday means and where it raised from, but
Yeah.
why is it that they say
It's a satanic holiday.
Yeah, why do they use a satanic holiday to say Halloween is of the devil?
That goes into a lot of church history, actually. So Halloween is a really big stereotype. I'm going to clear the air. For us, it is a satanic holiday, but not in general. The whole, it being a satanic holiday kind of came after Church of Satan codified a lot of things. Before then, it was with the Druids, the pagans, and the Celts started it initially. It was a day to guise yourself as spirits. It was the veil between the dead and the living thinning, so to speak. So there's a lot of ancient myths and traditions with Halloween. One of the things Anton LaVey said in 1966, when it was originally codified as a formal religion, so to speak, he thought of the main satanic holidays were Walpurgisnacht. This is May Day, it's also the anniversary of the founding of the Church of Satan. It's your birthday, actually. That's the number one holiday you're supposed to celebrate as a Satanist, because it's the day you were born. It's the day you came into being, which we'll get into some beliefs later and why that is. But Halloween became a thing because Anton LaVey in particular said that it was the one day people were animals. You got to be carnal. You dress up in a mask. You dress up like the devil for a day. You go door to door, maybe TP some houses. Adults participate in wild parties. I'm not going to say what goes on at those parties. The password is Fidelia. Surprised nobody said eyes wide shut when I asked about media, but we'll get to that. But generally, it was a day to be carnal, to be indulgent, to live your best life. It's the day the mask comes off while another mask goes on. So Anton LaVey in particular, he loved the aesthetic. It was a big aesthetic thing. Like, you've got the pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern, and the witch. It was only kind of natural to embrace that. So it being a satanic holiday is actually retroactive, so to speak. It has a much longer history than, say, Church of Satan's Satanic Temple. Hope that answers your question a little bit. Whatever stereotypes do you have? We're going to get into so much of this, I promise.
Do you hate love and love hate?
I wouldn't say that. What do you mean by that?
It's in your Bible. There's a section of the Satanic Bible that teaches about that. I'm just curious.
I mean, I'm not strictly Church of Satan.
What's that line of that? But what's that mean when you hear that? You just find parts you don't disagree with LaVey, or?
There are parts I disagree with LaVey on.
Okay.
I'm a little out of it. I'd love to reread the verse. Which book is it in, actually? Because I've read through this at least 8 times. It's fallen apart.
And I'm like that with my Bible.
Satanic Bible battle, right?
I came across it a while. I read it a long time
Oh yeah,
ago.
I can definitely get with you after this as well, if we want to go into that a bit more. Because I'd love to expand upon it, because I don't agree with LaVey on everything. One of the big things is man is fallible. Anton LaVey wasn't
Man is what?
fallible.
Okay.
Like, we don't believe in a literal God. Anton LaVey, Lucian Graves, none of them are literal gods, so to speak.
Page 64.
Page 64? Oh yes, the diatribe on love and hate, so to speak.
Yeah.
I do agree with a lot of that. I do tend to take a much more kinder approach because, I mean, I am a therapist, or I'm about to be. But I definitely don't think you should waste time on psychic vampires, so to speak. I see this particular chapter as an exchange. If somebody is taking more from you and harming the ego, so to speak, then I do think you should say something. I'm not all for smash him on the other cheek, literally. It's very polemic. So that's what I'd have to say on that specific section.
So you would disagree with LaVey's view of the golden rule?
Middle of the road.
Doing versus you do.
It depends on the situation for me. I'm all about cost-benefit analysis because I can't always smash somebody on the other cheek. I just don't want to lose all of them. Sorry. Like,
Question.
yeah.
What do you mean by when you said man is fallible? I guess what point to the guy's name again?
Anton LaVey.
Yeah.
When I say man is fallible, man does not know all. He does not have all the answers. Nobody does, and anybody pretending to have all the answers and pretending to be speaking the absolute truth about everything in the known universe is probably full of it. So you gotta meet people where they're at. People are wrong. I'm wrong. You're wrong. So you gotta take people with a grain of salt. That's what I meant by fallible. So I won't stay on this too long, but those are great things to think about, or originally come to mind when you hear the topic of Satanism. I most often hear sacrifice, baby killer, you abuse children, things like that. Things that originally started in an era. Like I said, we have to go over some pop culture and some history for you to have kind of a grasp of modern Satanism and what it is. Who has heard of the Satanic Panic in here?
Satanic what?
Panic. That's a good number of you. So this was like mid-70s, maybe early. Oh, I'm so glad people know what I'm talking about. So the Satanic Panic, ooh, people, see you all popping up. Sorry, gotta be awkward. So the Satanic Panic was a time in history. You just had the sexual revolution had just gone on. You had the moral majority starting to rise, Jerry Falwell. There's a lot of history, a lot of different political factions There was a book written called Michelle Remembers. This was from a psychiatrist investigating an older woman, and he claimed to have uncovered repressed satanic ritual abuse memories, meaning he thought he uncovered all these false memories about, oh, she'd been raped and blood has been poured on her, just the worst atrocities known to man, saying a bunch of Satanists did this. This book just hit it off. It was big. People started reading this. Pastors started getting a hold of it. Before you know it, you had Geraldo Rivera on TV saying, oh, look at Sean Sellers. And I mean, Sean Sellers is a psychopath. I can tell you just looking at him. Don't get me wrong, I'm not diagnosing anybody. I'm pretty sure he's been formally diagnosed. But you had all these, it's the 80s. It's the era it's the season of the witch, so to speak. You have heavy metal coming out of the woodwork. You have Iron Maiden, Slayer, not Lamb of God, that's later. I'm not going to get into history. I'm out of it today. I need my espresso. So we've got all this media coming out. Parents are panicking about the devil. They thought that KISS stood for Knights in Satan's Service. They said things about Pokemon being Oriental demons, Rainbow Bright having a pentagram on her face, Smurfs were little dead creatures. I know I sound completely insane. I would have pulled up a video of this on there. There's Turmoil in the Toy Box special. There's the Geraldo Rivera special. The media was just blowing up. There's a secret network of Satanists out to get our kids, basically. And this turned into a full-blown witch hunt. People's lives were destroyed. And this is after the Church of Satan came out. So they had to kind of step out of the public eye as well, because people wanted to kill them. There were people getting shotguns for their house because they were afraid of satanic cults out in the woods. So this is where you get a lot of your TV tropes and your common misconceptions, because Satanism wasn't even a glimmer in the eye of the public until Michelle Remembers hit the shelf, and every single news outlet, every reality TV show started bringing on Satanists, heavy metal artists, so to speak. And this ultimately, I mean, some still argue that the satanic panic and all this witch hunt and all this really nasty stereotyping is still going on. I'd argue that it is, but I'm not going to get into that tonight. But this ultimately culminated in the McMartin preschool trial. Has anybody heard of this trial?
I'm sorry, what's it?
You know what I'm talking about.
The what now?
McMartin preschool trial. This is the most expensive trial in American history up to now. What happened is, and I'm not trying to stigmatize anybody with schizophrenia, a mother who happened to have schizophrenia started claiming that there were secret tunnels under the McMartin preschool where satanic ritual abuse is going on, and all the kids started saying all this stuff, and there is just this sweet little old couple, and it costed them their livelihoods. People's lives were destroyed, and I think they're making a documentary about it right now. So if I ever find that, I can definitely link that to people who are ever interested. But the satanic panic was bad. And then the 90s came around. There was Marilyn Manson. There was Columbine. Oh, I was born 93, but I caught the tail end of this. It's when the trench coat mafia was out to get you. People who looked like me, because I usually wear some black makeup, but I just got off work. So, I mean, doesn't matter that I have a beard. I pull the makeup off and I do it fabulously. I'm messing. But, so you have this, you're riding the tail end of the satanic panic, and you've got the era of public shooters now. So it's the trench coat mafia, it's the goth kids. They're inevitably tied to Satanism, so to speak. You have the Craft coming out. The season of the witch continues to this day. I mean, you can't go into any store now without saying crystals, anything vaguely occult. I won't get into all those practices, but that's kind of a little bit of history that kind of explains a lot of the stereotypes we have about people who call themselves Satanists. It was damning back in the day. If it would have been 10 years ago, I wouldn't be able to have a job. I probably wouldn't be admitted to a university. I wouldn't even be allowed to adopt. This was that bad. So to be a Satanist was to brand yourself as damned socially. I mean, I know you're gonna make puns about that. I'm a little damned. But it was social damnation. So that's a little bit about kind of some of the stereotypes we have and where they come from. I highly recommend some of the books on it. Just Google, YouTube, any satanic panic video, and you just watch the chaos. I was going to show you the Louisiana law enforcement training one as a response to satanic cults. I've heard people call this one Uncle Gordon Wants to Make You a Movie Star. There's a chick in a bra, and he's putting whipped cream on her, and he's just looking at her real funny, and this is supposed to be a law enforcement training video. So people think it is hilarious to look back at, like, He-Man being the devil, Kiss standing for Knights in Satan's Service, or all the goth kids, I'm sure they're summoning Cthulhu in the back alley. It was not a good time to be anything but Christian back in the day. So that's kind of some of the culture that surrounded Satanism when it actually became codified. So I do happen to be TST. I'm not going to say that. I'm not speaking on behalf of that organization, but we have to acknowledge the Church of Satan. So this is when it became a phenomenon. This is when Satanism started to organize, so to speak, at least formally in the modern era. So the year was 1966 when Anton LaVey shaved his head and decided to take on the moniker of Black Pope. So he actually wrote the Satanic Bible. It was published, I forget what year, let me check. 69. Let me check. I do think it's 69. So this little book hit the shelves and people went wild. There were college campuses where this literally outsold the Holy Bible. People were fascinated. So you've got the Satanic Panic about to hit full force, and you've got a formal Church of Satan. So
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna quickly ask you. Okay, why does the Church of Satan go by, like, has the church in the name? I'm just curious. Like,
honestly, I'd have to kind of ask them a little bit, but a lot of it was because they wanted to make a formal religion, and a lot of this was kind of backlash to, say, Catholicism and mainstream religion. So they did want to have a formal church, so to speak. I'll get into the whole why it's called the Satanic Bible in a minute, but you were actually going in exactly the direction I wanted you to go with this. So,
okay.
So the Church of Satan, while they're atheists, they see Satan as nothing more than a literary character. And this inspires many of our ideals up until, like, TST, even. So specifically starting with Anton in particular, he saw Satan as this literary character that kind of represented independence, individualism, rebellion against arbitrary authority, hedonism in particular, and what it meant to kind of be a full, actualized person without mainstream religion. So they don't literally worship the devil. I'll get to you in a sec. There are literal devil worshippers out there. Usually they're on the dark web, probably gathering in weird chat rooms, a lot of edge words. I'm messing. But I swear I'm joking when I say that. I swear they're going to find me. They're going to see this video. But there are literal devil worshippers out there. There are theistic Satanists. Generally, I don't know many, and they are not the majority. Most of us are just spicy atheists, so to speak. The reason for that being is a lot of people, it's okay to be an atheist. It's cool. Honestly, as somebody on the spectrum, somebody who has bipolar disorder and has religious tendencies, Satanism is just perfect. It's very, very interesting. It already tells me the ideals I had beforehand, so to speak. But when you add ritual and religious behaviors in there, and you're constantly reinforcing, this is what you should do with your life, or, these are the ideals you should have, it pumps you up as much as any Catholic going to Mass, any Buddhist temple. The same wonder and awe I feel as a Christian in deep prayer, I feel while, say, going on a run, applying for that new job, or just sitting at my altar even. So I am an atheist. I can't bring myself to believe in a deity, and neither can most people identifying themselves as Satanists. And I combat that honestly. I swear I'll get to you, I promise. Pinky swear.
Don't let him ask questions.
I
Till
want
the
you
end.
to.
Just banish him.
Till the end.
He's got all week. I'm
You can have
messing.
questions at the end.
You got something tomorrow, so I have the weekend.
Oh, you can bother me all day. Once I'm out of treatment team, I'll be in my office all day. But I mean, the thing is that even though I don't see a need to accept the claim that a deity exists. I have no reason for that yet. That position is tentative, because I'm always open to more information. Even then, I don't know if I'd worship them if they were proven to be real. But as an atheist, I still crave religious behaviors. And as a psychologist, I love having psychodramas. Basically, the entire point of the satanic ritual, to have it as a religion, was to empower the self to enjoy the things other religious people enjoy. And I don't feel like ritual, candle lighting, chanting, anything else strictly belongs to theism. So the Church of Satan kind of spearheaded this back in the day. So, Kelby, your question. I told you I'd get to you.
I have a two-part question. Since
Yeah.
it seems like you were, okay, you said earlier
Yeah.
that the Church of Satan, and I knew this for a while though, and, that Satanism, okay, of course, it does not worship Satan, it
Yeah.
worships mainly itself.
Yes, it's mainly
So-
it's called self-deification.
So, with that being said,
Yeah.
Satanism sees Satan as this character, little figure,
Mhm.
supposedly. Do you all see him as a deity? Okay, I'll be more specific in a broader term. Does the Church of Satanism see Satan as a deity?
Generally, atheistic Satanists don't. It's more of like a mascot. Like, as Marshall students, we don't worship Marco. We just think Marco's pretty cool. But except that's oversimplifying it though. I see a lot of goodness in the character of Satan, whether it's the Bible or Paradise Lost, things like Revolt of the Angels, there's so much literature out there that kind of expands upon what limited information's in the Bible and paints a different picture of this character, the accuser of man. And there are people who literally, like such as myself, who see amazing traits in that character. So while there's no literal deity to worship, there is you, and ultimately Satan is kind of a character that a lot of individualists identify with. That is the self, if they were any kind of mythical being. Like, it's just a really good, I just really like the character, guys. So it's just a cool mascot. And plus, I mean, not only does it have the values, using Satan as a model, so to speak, a character to base a religion on, that has theatric value right there. It has it's one thing to say, I'm trying to think of a good character. I'm a cat doggist. Okay, that's a little weird. I am a Hey Arnoldist. I don't know. Name any fictional character. I know that's really pulling at straws here, but let's just say any fictional character. As soon as you could say, oh, I'm a non-denominational Catholic, yada, 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 yada. And people are like, okay, I'm a Satanist. Eyes widen. It has an effect on people. There are people that did want to shock others with it, but it has theatrical value. You don a black cloak, you put on some candles, you read out of your little black book or anything else that means a lot to you. You have a goat skull on the altar, probably. Everyone's altar is a little different. And that is amazing right there. It's theatrical, it's satisfying. It meets my psychosocial needs as an atheist who craves meaning and craves ritual, basically. I think ritual and religion, sorry, voice is cracking, I'm on testosterone. Religion's a perfectly natural human behavior. I won't get into the entire neuroscience behind it, but I see no reason to deny that. So that's generally what, say, COS and TST would agree upon. Yeah, Kelby.
Someone's going to shoot you.
No, I'm not going to shoot you. I'll get you fired. No, you're still my friend.
You said earlier that, of course, Satan has that he's got good moral traits and he's good.
Not necessarily moral, just idyllic.
Okay, so what are some characteristics that what you're saying about being, I guess, good? You said earlier or something.
Are there examples? Is that what you're saying?
Sure. What's are examples of that?
Probably the biggest one, and I know this is the one that's going to make the most people mad. the maddest, so to speak. Grammar, English, how does that work? So I'm not going to get into hermeneutics, everything, like the Greek, everything about the original Christian scriptures or the canonical Bible as we see it today. I'm not going to get into all the little science, the nitpicks about it, because there is so much to cover there. But if you read the original Genesis story, the serpent, that it wasn't necessarily Satan in the original text. A lot of people disagree with that, but if you read the book of Genesis, you saw the serpent, which is now considered Satan, as giving humankind knowledge. A lot of people read that very, very literally, or the Bible as is, without knowing kind of hermeneutics, etc., context, interpretation. But if you read it as is, a lot of people simply see Yahweh or Jesus or anything you want to call the Christian God, the God of the Bible. They saw him as keeping humans in ignorance. And the apple was supposedly the liberation. It wasn't when sin entered the world, it's when knowledge and all of the prices that came with it. It was the liberation of childishness, of destructive innocence, so to speak. So a lot of people see Satan as a liberating character. Sure, you could say a lot of the same things about maybe a Huckleberry Finn character, but damn, does that have punch when you say, I like this character the best, the most demonized character in probably all of fiction. So that would just be an example. I'm just going to tell it to you straight. Like, there's a lot of other examples, and it depends on how you read scripture originally.
So in other words, you're saying is that Satan is seen as that he was good for giving them knowledge or having them, leading, prompt them to eat of the fruit of the garden.
Yes.
To give them knowledge.
That's the biggest example most of them use, or most of Satanists of any variety, probably. I can't speak for everybody, and people are going to have different interpretations, but that's generally what I see out of most people. So let's kind of move away from COS a little bit. So COS was kind of the spearhead. This, regardless of Twitter wars, etc., this laid the foundation. It was historically important for Satanism as we currently understand it. So let's move on to the challenger appearing. LaVey died in, I believe, 97, correct? He died of congestive heart failure, I believed. And after this, the church was given off to High Priest or Magus Peter Gilmore. A lot of people really, after LaVey died, things went to hell. You see what I'm doing there? Sorry, I like making y'all laugh. Things went to hell with COS, and that's kind of my opinion and the general consensus, because like I said, I can't speak for everybody. There are COS members still out there today, and that is perfectly cool, if that's what floats their boat. However, a lot of people really disagreed with the way COS became authoritarian in nature. How it's run, the membership costs, what little is being done. So after all that death, all of that leadership change, after things kind of faded away from the public view, a pretty big schism occurred. There was a Rick Scott rally originally, and I'd love to show the documentary. Has anybody seen Hail Satan yet? I saw it with you. We went to Columbus to see it with the director Penny Lane talking about it. So during the Rick Scott rally, a couple guys, Lucian Greaves and a couple of others, get together. And this is a politician that wanted prayer and religion classes taught in schools. So ultimately, they have to give everyone the same opportunity. I'm all for Christians going to schools as much as I am Hindus and everybody else. So they had a Satanist for Rick Scott rally. This started with 3 people, and as projects grew, more and more people started joining the Satanic Temple. So this is probably one of the largest organizations that currently exists. And I don't know numbers. I'm not going to give you their membership roster. That's kind of a near HIPAA violation. So that was back in, was it 2013?
2012.
2012, yes. That was 2012. Now, as of my birthday, ironically enough, the highest day of the year, my birthday this year, they have become a tax-exempt religious organization. So I did have some videos, but the Apple TV doesn't like me today. and I will talk your ear off.
Devil.
Huh?
It's the devil.
Oh, it's because I'm here, isn't it? So, one of the big questions you're probably going to ask is, what's the difference? Coming from, like, I can't speak on behalf of the organization or anything, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people would consider the Satanic Temple a more updated version of modern Satanism. Basically, these are my words when I say this. Nobody get me. But I see that culture has ultimately changed. The Church of Satan served a purpose back in the day. It melded with the culture based on what the culture needed. However, it has not adapted to a rapidly changing society, in my opinion, and I know I'm going to get lynched for this on the internet. Wouldn't be the first time I've been lynched. Bring it on, internet. I'm messing. But honestly, we have a very divided culture right now. We have left and right coming together with the rise of social media, of YouTube, of politics with the click of a button, religion at the click of a button. People are seeing each other as they are, so to speak. We're seeing views that are controversial. We are seeing religion and state clash like they never have before. We're having basically a kind of a second red wave, and people are kind of rebelling to that. So the Satanic Temple has stepped in where there is a large battle afoot, so to speak. We generally don't want one religion having privilege in the government, because ultimately that would detriment all of us, like all or nothing, basically. I'm not saying that religious people can't participate, but ultimately favoritism cannot happen. In order to have freedom for all, it must be given to all. It's why you'll never see me out here protesting a Ratio Christi chapter. Even if they could say, even if you got, I'm not accusing you of this. You could put up a banner tomorrow that says, I hate Ash Shada, let's put Ash Shada's head on a stick. Yeah, screw trans people or something like that. Say the meanest thing you wanted. I would not protest you guys. And I'm not accusing you of all of that. No, you were not Westboro. I'm messing. I have more faith in humanity than that. Just not enough faith. But, I mean, the Satanic Temple has had a lot of social justice efforts, and kind of the big difference is benevolence, so to speak. The Church of Satan was very, egotism all the way, individualism all the way. But as somebody who's kind of fallen into a much more modern and updated version, I kind of see the battle between individualism and compassion for others, helping the homeless, participating in the government, working mental health, adopting children, all of those things. I see it as above, so below. Classic occult saying. It means completion, duality. Things cannot exist without the other. Something in one extreme is unhealthy. If I really wanted to be individualistic, let's overthrow the government. Let's be the biggest narcissist I could be. Let's do everything in my power to make me the best. That's not how people work. It's just not. I can tell you that as a psychologist in training. I find much more fulfillment of the ego, the fulfillment of the self as you worshiping yourself as a god, so to speak. I find that to be much more effective when I'm out in the community helping others. As above, so below. When the others benefit, the self benefits. When the self benefits, others benefit. We're not islands. We need to live together. We need to interact with each other. So honestly, I live out my Satanism every day by doing what I can to help my community. I'm on the front lines of the opioid epidemic currently. I see people die. I work in state hospitals regularly. I see pedophiles and murderers. I see things people don't want to see at my job. But how I live out my faith, and I swear I'll get to you. Pinky swear. So, I mean, I live out my faith by doing my best to improve myself and the world, because regardless of whether there's a literal deity or not, we're stuck together. We have to live together. So honestly, I don't care if you believe in God or not. You are my brother, and you are a person. And if I see you on fire, I'm going to do a little bit more than urinate to put it out. I mean, that's not the way to say that, but you better believe I'm going to be hitting that campus button and like dumping water on you. It doesn't matter how much you hate me as a trans person or anything else that I am. I have to live with you. And we could get into an entire philosophical conversations about morality, whether it be objective or subjective, and I'm not going to keep you all of that time because there's definitely more I want to get to. But that's how I live out my beliefs. So I hope that makes sense. So I'm kind of fulfilling the ego and being an individualist by at the same time extending myself. Because we're all in it together, and I can't help myself if I'm completely alone and I'm overwhelmed. The power of the pack is power to use, so to speak. I mean, one piranha alone is just a fish, but you've got everybody and we're all working together. Then that's powerful right there. So that's why every Christian, Muslim, anybody who is kind to me is my friend. Don't mess me up. Please don't hit me. We'll get into the whole like smite him on the cheek, smash him on the other eventually. I pinky swear. Because this is a really deep discussion we could get into. It's very cost-benefit analysis. But before I get on to kind of the final part of what I wanted to talk about, especially regarding Satanism as it currently stands, I kind of wanted to read you some tenets, rules, and regulations most of us generally live by. We won't go into all the satanic sins, etc., or I'd like to start out with COS. This is the 11 satanic rules of the earth. These are more guidelines to live by. Because like I've said, people are fallible. LaVey was fallible. Everybody is. So they were more guidelines to use at your discretion, just ideals for living. Number 1, do not give opinions or advice unless you are asked. Number 2, do not tell your troubles to others unless you're sure they want to hear them. I mean, they can just unfriend me on Facebook if they don't want to hear them. I'm messing. When in another's lair, show him respect or do not go there. If a guest in your lair annoys you, treat him cruelly and without mercy. Do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal. Consent is sexy. It's like making somebody tea, like that video you showed me. If they don't want a cup of tea, you don't pour it down their throat when they're sleeping. People get scalded that way. So do not take that which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other person and they need to be relieved. Acknowledge the power of magic if you employed it successfully to obtain your desires. If you deny the power of magic after having called upon it with success, you will lose all that you have attained. So this is very COS. Do not complain about anything to which you need not subject yourself. Do not harm little children. Do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for food. So, animal baby sacrifice. They were to catch you doing that, you would be reported to the police, excommunicated, blacklisted. Zero tolerance. Almost every mainstream organization I know, like you pull any of that, you're out of here. Like it's that's kind of how it is. And the final one is when walking in open territory, bother no one. If someone bothers you, ask him to stop. If he does not, destroy him. So this is COS. You can kind of see the culture reflected in the tenets and the rules that were laid out at the time. So the Satanic Temple's 7 tenets, on the other hand, you can definitely see kind of the clash between the two organizations when I read these out to you. So TST would be number 1. I mean, I'm not going to go there, but number 1, one should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. Generally, let's say a wolf is attacking me. I like the wolf. I want to pet it, but I'm sorry if your jaws are on my throat. I have to shoot you, buddy. If old Yeller has rabies, it doesn't matter how much you love him. So you got to use some judgment and reason in there. Doesn't mean just be nice to everybody, everything, because ultimately that can kill you. It would ultimately destroy the ego. It would not be individualistic. So you can tell that there's a lot of pro-con analysis in here. They are very bendable, interpretable. They're not necessarily objective versus subjective. But that's a whole other topic, and John and you all can go through much greater detail and with much greater accuracy than I can. like I said, I'm not going to pretend to know everything. And if I don't know enough about something, then I'm going to turn you to someone else, because you all deserve good info. So number 2, before I rant your ear off, the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. Number 3, one's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. 4, this is one of my favorites. It's not my favorite, but this one makes me so happy. It's why I'm here today, and it's why I get along with people who disagree with me. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedom of another person is to forego your own. It must be applied equally. If I'm allowed in schools, then so are the Christians. You must lift each other up. There must be scales and balances. Freedoms, including the freedom to offend, must be respected. Yeah.
Are you saying, like, when you said free to offend, are you talking about whoever is opposed from you, they have a right to offend, but when it comes to Satanism, you can't offend?
No, we all have the equal freedom to offend one another, so to speak. It doesn't matter to me that the Bible's offensive to me. It doesn't matter to me that you believe in something that I disagree with. It doesn't matter that Alex Jones is on here typing away on the internet.
When you said offensive, it sounded like I thought that would be meaning more in the lines of disrespect. Just going.
No, you're allowed.
Not like using the Bible against, but I'm talking about like just using being mentally abusive to someone.
I mean, that's different. I mean, just offending somebody with your conversation is different than abuse, so to speak.
Okay.
So that would be kind of how that would take it. Alex has the right to call me any name in the book. I have every right to call you any name in the book. I can't say, hey, police, come drag him away. He called me a poopy head or a stupid pooped. I don't even know what that means. It's what me and my sisters made up when I was a kid. It's just a word I use. He could call me a stupid pooped till the cows go home. And I really can't censor that. That's fine with me. I mean, my views are offensive. It's okay. So, number 5, beliefs should conform to our best scientific understanding of the world. We should take care never to distort fact to fit beliefs. So what that means to me as a future psychologist, researcher, and professor, all conclusions must be tentative. As more information comes into the picture, I must be willing to change that. It's basically a jury in a courtroom. Every opinion, let me see the papers, show me the body, so to speak. No emotion in it, just show me the body. So, I mean, I have to be malleable as a professor, as somebody who craves intellectual honesty. If something disagrees with me, if I am proven wrong, then good. Let me adapt to that, so to speak. So that's one of the most important tenets to me as a Satanist and a professor, because I care about facts, so to speak. Oh, low power mode. Had to.
I have no.
Okay, well, I'm just about at the end of what I originally wanted to talk about. So number 6, this is a commonality. People are fallible. If we make a mistake, we should do our best to rectify it and resolve any harm that may have been caused. Let's say I have been unintentionally verbally abusive to my husband. He needs to say, Ash, you're a jerk. Ash, you're so-and-so, insert expletive here. Really? What did I say? Oh, well, thank you for pointing that out to me. I am so sorry. It doesn't matter what position of power I am. It doesn't matter how good of a person I come off. People make mistakes, and I want to be held accountable, and I want to pay for them on my own terms. I will pay for my own sins. I want nobody else to pay that for me. It is my responsibility, and I can only improve as a Satanist, as somebody on the path of self-deification, if somebody calls me on my BS. So call me on my BS, guys, if you know me personally. If I do something stupid, hold me accountable and hold my feet to the fire.
So, I have a question. So,
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm a little confused about, what's the difference between atheism and then Satanism?
Oh.
Because,
Oh yeah, I can explain that. Basically, atheism has many different forms. Atheism is simply a position. The position on whether a deity exists. You could have agnostic atheists, but generally, culturally, and It means somebody doesn't believe. So that is just a position. It doesn't tell you anything about what other positions they hold. You could be a secular humanist, you could be an atheistic Buddhist, you could be a Satanist. Basically, it's a greater it's an umbrella category with many different subcategories underneath it. So you can have all kinds of atheism.
So you're saying that atheism is a broad term, and so like under this umbrella, Satanism is there.
Yes, that is one little spoke on the umbrella. Not all atheists are Satanists, but most. I can't give you a statistic. Most statistics are BS unless I see the numbers. But
Right.
I mean, most of them are generally atheists. I'm not going to talk about like the literal devil worshippers on the internet that hide out in some forum, or theistic Satanists. We could have a Twitter war against theists and atheists all day, but that's generally the difference. Yes.
So obviously you know that Satanism, for you all it's atheism. But
Yes.
when you say, well, if there is supposedly dark web Satanists, is there a word for that?
Theistic Satanists, some people call themselves Luciferians. It's ultimately what they want to define themselves as. Luciferians. There's a lot of different occult groups out there. It can be talking like every collar on a collar packet, but this type of ice cream, this type of spice is just, I love me some spicy atheism. Rubs. So honestly, that is kind of what I wanted to go over with you guys. And honestly, I want to open this up to you all. This is your all's discussion, and this is your all's apologetics group. What do you want to talk about? Like, whether it's me being trans, or like, I am an open book. I am total transparency. I live by that. That is my motto, is transparency. So feel free, ask away. There are no stupid questions. The only stupid question is the one unasked. And if I can't answer them, I'm going to be upfront with you. I'm okay with that. I don't know everything. People are fallible. So, I mean, don't be afraid. I like I said, I sit across the room from murderers and pedophiles on some days. There is nothing you can say that's going to upset, offend, or scare me.
Have you ever actually met a Luciferian
Yes.
before? And what are they like? Are they more aggressive since they're more, I don't know, what are they like?
Honestly, they're so few and far between that I don't have enough data to make a generalization. I need more information to discuss the group outside of my own biases, my own feelings of that individual. So I can't really comment on that. So like I said, if I don't know something, then I'm going to pass. So the one I did meet was kind of a jerk, but I don't know about the rest of them. I don't know what goes on in their head.
Go, man. He'll ask 100 questions. You have to have to jump in.
So, all right, so two of them, I'm like, when did you know that you were a different sex?
Oh, when did I realize I was trans?
Yeah.
Oh, honestly, like, I know this is a controversial as hell answer. Then again, we're talking about Satanism. It can be controversial as hell. But honestly, I was a very, very, very young child as soon as I started having, like, I didn't know what being trans was, because this was the 90s. We didn't have Tumblr. We didn't have YouTube. I didn't have internet until I was 10. Like, I had never met another LGBT person. I didn't even know what that meant. But my parents were like, wow, this one is acting differently. Why is this kid having a tantrum over being dressed like a girl? Why is this one wanting a boy's bike? Why is he ripping the heads off Barbie dolls and getting really, really aggressive consistently? It's insistency, persistency, and consistency you look for. So eventually they're like, okay, I'm getting fed up with this. I can't fight the kid anymore. Let's take him to the doctor. I was 7 years old, and they formally diagnosed me of gender dysphoria. Like, my parents took me from the therapist, burnt all my clothes in front of me, and took away all my toys. And I don't want to go into my parents too much. I care about them, but they're deeply flawed people. That's all I can really say on them. But it's been a lifelong thing. It's never something I woke up one day and said, hey, I think I might be trans today because I saw a Tumblr post. I don't want my life to be miserable. I don't want to face challenges. I don't want to be suicidal every day. I don't want to be found hanging in my bedroom. I don't want to be found like that. And honestly, like it's something that generally doesn't go away. Sometimes it clears up with some people. Some people decide, hey, maybe it was just a phase. But generally, here's a misnomer. In order to get the hormones and the surgery I'm on, there are really, really strict therapeutic precautions in place. Generally, the World Health Organization say you have to undergo a year of therapy while socially transitioning. And still, even then, it's thousands of dollars for the therapy. Most people can't afford those hormones either. Nobody is just lining up in a Medicaid line ready to put boob implants in because they think it would be cool. Like, it's bad. It's usually about 1 in 10,000 on average for people born male or trans women. It's usually about, I'll have to recheck the statistic, 1 in 20,000 for transgender men or people assigned a female at birth. It's just luck of the draw. I wouldn't pick it for myself, but I'm doing the kindest thing for myself because my case had to be expedited through therapy because they realized, look, this person's gonna hurt themselves. Like, long history. Like, I'm not threatening anybody. I don't want you to feel bad for me. It's something I'm dealing with on my own terms.
I have one question now. I promise I'll shut up.
Is it trans related? Is it related to the story,
No.
Kelby?
No.
Well, I'll ask you in a minute. Yeah, Kelby, gosh. Yeah.
One question.
Yeah.
Are you, alright, you wanna
No,
ask?
go.
So what state are you from?
What state am I
Are
from?
you from West Virginia?
No, honestly, I was born in Kentucky, but grew up in Texas. My parents moved here when I was about 8. So this is when things hit the fan at school, and nobody likes trans kids, and I had the snot beaten out of me. So like that, I've been here ever since.
Right. So that's one of the questions I gotta ask you because it matters what state. So being a Sigma, it's like kind of the South. Like how, it's like really difficult. Like because where I'm from, Illinois, being LGBT, it's pretty much being celebrated because we're a very liberal state.
Yeah.
I don't know how like the system around here.
All I can say is it's changed a lot. I'm going to, it's a little different depending on geography, because currently we're adopting an LGBT child and they are from out there, and the experiences they have had have made mine pale in comparison. Like, it depends on where you're from, what the situation is, but when I was a trans kid, before it was even a conversation the society was having, I'm not going to go into exactly what happened, but 10 girls ganged up on me in the locker room when I was forced to use it, and some things happened. So honestly, it was that level of bad, like out you in front of the class and send you to school in a dress bad, or send you to pray the gay away camp. Like it's bad. But honestly, it's much easier. I've turned all of that kind of trauma into a blog where I post on Facebook daily about like what's going on with my dosages, what the appointment was like. Try to make the unknown known so people won't be so scared of me. Because I know, trans women get it bad, but trans men, trans women just have much, much worse than, say, somebody like me. And I know every little bit helps as a professor, so I don't mind throwing it all out there. Yeah.
Okay. So, is a trans woman, does that mean that they're biologically male and then they transition?
Generally, yes. A trans woman is somebody who's been assigned male at birth usually. There are people who are intersex, meaning have a chromosomal abnormality or ambiguous genitals that end up being trans women. But that's generally how it's used colloquially and in the language.
So, okay. You're learning. I don't know what this is.
Oh, it's okay. You're learning. There are no dumb questions.
I was just gonna ask, so you were biologically a female and you transitioned to a male, right?
Yes, I was born female and I'm currently being medically altered. But it's questionable right now. I might have found out I might have some intersex genes in a therapy, not a therapy, but an endocrinologist appointment, because I reacted unusually to the testosterone and I have infertility NOS. So it's highly likely, but they need to run a genetic screen. Yeah.
How long does it take to transition?
It's different for everybody. Honestly, I am one of the most privileged people that can transition, and I don't mean that in the Tumblrism sense. What I mean by when I say that I'm privileged is I have insurance, I was able to get a job, I have a degree, meaning I could speak to the psychologist in her own language, I know what she's doing, and I know how to work the system, so to speak. Let's just put it out there. Like, most people have no idea what they're doing. A lot of people can't be hired because there's stigma. A lot of people end up in poverty because maybe they're kicked out of their parents' house for being trans. Maybe they turn to sex work just to fund their transition. So seeing somebody such as myself have like great group insurance that actually covers it, have enough of a social support network to go through with it, and know exactly what they want and have that long of a case, I'm a very unusual situation. Like, it's the timeline is different for everybody in every state. Like, for somebody like me, it's actually gonna be longer. I have to wait till after surgery to alter my birth certificate because Kentucky wants me forcibly sterilized. I mean, if I'm sterile anyways, okay. But still, it's kind of a creepy law. Either way.
What is sterilized?
Unable to reproduce. They cut you. And that's kind of genocidal. A lot of people don't want it because bottom surgery is expensive and it's a really long healing time. So most trans people never get it. Yeah.
Have you thought about like moving to a different state, so like a more liberal state to be more comfortable, or why do you specifically stay in this area?
That's a difficult question. I have a lot of love for West Virginia. And honestly, like as a psych major who has seen transgender children in the system, and everybody's moving out, it's like, who's gonna get the kid from Roane County? Who's gonna help them? Who's gonna stop the kid from hanging in their bedroom? I feel a duty, like as a attempt survivor and somebody in the mental health field, whether it's fighting the opioid crisis or anything, it's nice to be a doctor and have doctor bucks, don't get me wrong. But ultimately, my Satanism wants me to go out there and help these kids because your life is important. Like, I'd love to live in some San Francisco state in a neighborhood with my husband where I don't have to be afraid to hold his hand in public. But I love West Virginia. It's a terrible beauty, but I'm kind of tied here for a lot of reasons.
How does Kurt deal with this?
Oh, he's doing wonderfully.
Kurt is she's married. Her husband's named Kurt.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about her. We've been friends for a while.
Yeah, Kurt is my husband. He's very Jewish. I love him. So we have an interfaith household. We get along just fine, I swear. And my kid's probably going to be Christian, and I'm cool with that. Like, we can all sit around and talk about this at the dinner table, get out the rapiers, and have an intellectual fight with our tiny swords and masks on guard. But it's okay. Like, I'm not like that. But Kurt's been excellent. He got into this knowing this, and like some people are bi or gay, and sometimes people like trans people. You'd be shocked at the amount of men and the types of men who message me. Like, I'm as queer as a $3 bill, and I am okay with that. Maybe a $2 bill is a $3. I don't know. Like, they're something dollars, silver dollar maybe.
So ultimately, Satanism is based on nothing but the way you feel and think.
I wouldn't say that. It's a really deep discussion, honestly. But honestly, I'd love to kind of flesh that out a bit further.
Okay.
Honestly, because in order to kind of discuss Satanism as a philosophy, you would have to go back to atheism and say presuppositions, certain apologetic methods there. You'd have to go after atheism. Satanism is just an accessory. I'm not belittling it. It's my life. That's my identity. That's my religion. But at the same time, it's inevitably tied to my atheism or my disbelief.
Do you think, I know that you mess with the Ouija board?
I don't literally believe in a Ouija board. I just think they're cool.
Play.
Oh yeah, as a psychologist, I find Ouija boards fascinating. Like, they actually run on the idiomotor effect. I don't believe they literally... I like to mess with some of the freshman kids out in Woodmere. I'd invite them into my car and take them out to Woodmere, and like, I'm not moving the board. And they like start crying. So they're just like, I just want to see if he does, like Ash does it. Yeah.
What about like, I don't know, I really don't know much about Satanists. Do they do like afterlife or like worship of death and things like that?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I almost forgot to talk about that. I don't want to take all the time or anything, and because I really want to make sure everybody gets their word. And that is, ooh, as a suicide attempt survivor, that is my favorite question you could have ever asked me. As a Satanist, I don't think anything is there, and I'm okay with that. Honestly, that scares me at times, because when I died, I didn't really see anything. It's like static and some final memories, and you wake up in the floor. But I mean, it's different for everybody. There are people that have near-death experiences, so ultimately, stories don't have a lot of weight. But anyways, what most of us generally believe is that you live on for your actions, the people you've loved, the lives you've touched. While you're rotting in the ground, so to speak, and you're not there, and everything you ever did was meaningless in the big scheme of things. It meant something to you while you were here. It meant something to my daughter or my husband, say my mom or my dad. You live on in the brains, the blood, and the sinews of every life you've ever touched. So while you don't have a consciousness, so to speak, it's very poetic in a lot of ways. It's like I donated my body to science in the Marshall University Medical School for this reason. I don't expect to go to heaven or hell or anything, but I want to teach those kids something. I want to make them laugh with my stupid tattoos when I'm dead. It's like, oh, put me on the slab. Oh, look at this one, guys. I want people to use my body after I die. And sure, toss me namelessly in the Marshall Memorial internment vault at the at Spring Hill. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, honestly, like I've been terrified of heaven before. I have been. I grew up in a very, very religious area, very, very religious relatives, and while I always doubted, and it wasn't because I had questions, it just the concept didn't sit right with me, and it was constantly used as a threat. But I was also the kid who didn't believe in Santa. Not that they're the same thing or anything like that. I'm not going to get into that discussion. But hell was a terrifying concept growing up. The thought of torture, and it's like, well, you're going there for, if you don't straighten up and put on that little dress now, so-and-so, like homophobic slur, oh, you're goth, you're going to hell, oh, if you're goth, you're a Satanist, so you're damned. I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. Honestly, if I was wrong about everything and somehow the Christian God was real, or any kind of deity, I'm not going to play Pascal's wager or anything like that, but let's say it was all true for a minute. Honestly, I'd rather live out my religion, and while I'd be a theist, I'd say, yeah, God is real. I don't know if I would worship the character.